So we're going to just move on to think a little bit about what influences behaviour and then what we might be able to do about it. So this behaviour change wheel is something that I strongly recommend you have a look at the link, because if you do that, you can hover over each of the individual words in this wheel, get a description of what it means, a definition, and also some examples. So for example, legislation, that could include something like it's now law to wear seatbelts in cars whenever they're moving. The fiscal measures might include something like the sugar tax. So that's to do with finances and taxation that is designed to promote health. So tax on cigarettes, tax on alcohol, tax on sugar. So if you have a look at that diagram, it gives you some detail, and there's a whole book on this thing, but it will give you some idea of what all of these things might mean with examples. So I encourage you to have a look. So this framework called COM-B is all about trying to understand human behaviour, and it's really important that you note the directions of the arrows. So we've got three key aspects: capability, motivation and opportunity, and how they link with behaviour. So be mindful of the notes of the arrows. So capability and opportunity, for example, can influence motivation. So if we also maybe change behaviour, that can actually be quite motivating. A sense of achievement, we change something, but that change in behaviour, attending an educational session, might improve our capability. So I'm going to just go through and explain a little bit more about capability, motivation and opportunity, and how they might link to dietetic practice. So let's think a little bit about capability. So this is to do with the individual. It's to do with their psychological, so comprehension, their ability to understand, their ability to reason, and their physical capability or capacity to engage with an activity. So we might be able to improve someone's understanding, comprehension, reasoning by providing some kind of educational tool. Information sheets, for example, might build knowledge. Group education session might build knowledge. The necessary knowledge and skills, if we're thinking of skills, well, that might be something like a community cook and eat session to try and help people to develop their cooking skills, or it might be something that's designed to help people eat more healthily on a budget. So there's lots of knowledge and skills that we might help people to improve, that might enable them to do more behaviour change. So we can work on capability by giving knowledge and skills as part of our dietetic practice. If we do that, this might improve motivation because it makes the change easier for people. So our service users attending an appointment with us, attending group education, a webinar, something like that, may improve their capability. But we also need to be mindful of negative impacts on capability. So it could be that people have misinformation, which therefore disempower them in relation to capability. They may have a learning disability or a physical disability that makes it more difficult for them to access services or to comprehend information. Sometimes people with very poor mental health, it may not be the intellectual capacity but is the concern, but actually they may be struggling to take things on board and to process things. Or if we provide information that doesn't meet our service user needs, so if it's not tailored to their needs, then that's not going to help their motivation. It's not going to improve their capability. So we need to be mindful of what can have a negative impact as well as what might have a positive impact. But as dietitians, we've got the great potential to improve people's capability if we work with them. So opportunity is more about what is external to the individual person. So the capability was about the individual, but the opportunities are more about what is external to them and make that behaviour change possible or prompt them to do that. So providing services increases opportunity, whether it's a resource, a service, an educational thing, or maybe as a community development dietitian, you might be helping to set up food co-ops or working to support food banks. Whatever it is that's out there that enables people to make healthier choices. So the food banks are particularly important at the moment across the UK because they are providing a significant amount of food to people. So if we make things more accessible to them, we set up new services, whether in whatever format that is, we can improve that opportunity for that individual to access something that's going to help them to make the behaviour change. If we improve the opportunity, we should improve their motivation as well. So what is motivation? It's everything about our brain processes that energises us and directs our behaviour in a particular direction. So some of this is subconscious. So like our habits, things that we automatically do, our reactions to emotions, our ability to make decisions. But it can also be very much conscious, like setting goals and making decisions. And the whole thing is that we need to make sure that the motivation for the target behaviour, stopping smoking, for example, is stronger than the competing behaviours, the things that encourage people to maintain smoking. So we need to kind of help to change the balance to make it easier for people. And there's lots of things that can change motivation. Now, you'll all be very well aware, I'm sure, of motivational interviewing, which is a very complex skill that builds on the skills we're going to be developing on in this module. And it can help people become more aware of what's going on inside, what does motivate you and what doesn't. So we will learn some of the basic principles in the module, but later on we will look at more skills that are motivation interviewing based, but to properly become skilled in motivational interviewing takes extra training post-registration. But there's lots of things that we can do to improve motivation, such as changing opportunity and capability. There are lots of other things. We could provide social support. There are other things that people can access themselves that will help them with their motivation. So thinking about what might have a negative impact on motivation, it may be something that has a negative impact on capability or opportunity, but it could also be something that is affecting someone. So, for example, if they've had a recent bereavement, or if they've just lost their job, or something else big is going on in life, moving house, getting married, those kind of big events can take away a lot of the energy that people have to direct their behaviour. So we need to be mindful of those things as well. So in dietetic practice, what we're doing is trying to support people and facilitate them to make changes. Clearly predominantly dietary, but it could also be physical activity and other lifestyle things. And the whole goal of what we're trying to do is to improve their health and prevent ill health. Now that can be as much nutritional support, helping someone to follow a diet for renal disease, as it can for long-term conditions like obesity and diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So we've had a little bit of a look at what behaviour change is, what influences it, and then how we as dietetic practitioners might help to support change.